Hello, everybody, and welcome into the MVP show for Super Bowl Sunday. It's February 7th, 2021, and I get to look at you. I get to look at you. You guys get to look at me. This is awesome. For the first time, we're not in the studio.
Yes.
We are in the corner of our apartment.
Yes.
But I don't know. It looks all right.
I agree. We said we could have just turned this way, maybe blocked us out by the sun, but no, we're gonna stick in the corner. We'll be good.
Yes. There was much deliberation on how the angle would look today, whether we were going to have it facing. Because I think the double wall looks good, but we debated this for quite a while.
We could be doing a lot worse. We really could. I think we're doing good here. I don't hate the what we got going on here, but hopefully we'll be back in the studio in the Park School soon. But if not, this corner is going to be here. It's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
So we'll still be here.
No. And what we open with, of course, what the whole show is going to be about is the Super Bowl. And what a show, I think, to start in person or to start our in-person time with. Because this is it. On our tweet that we promote the show with, it's Joey from Full House saying, it's Super Bowl Sunday. It's the best day of the year. Because it is. Christmas, Thanksgiving, they're up there. But Super Bowl Sunday, it's just a national holiday. Tomorrow should, of course, be a national holiday on Monday, so we all have off. But that's a side note. But in terms of getting here, I don't know about you guys. I didn't think in the beginning of the season and at times that we were going to get to this moment, that there was going to be a crowd, but there's expected to be not full capacity, but about 15 to 20% in Raymond James Stadium today. And we're playing the Super Bowl. So it's, I think, a positive. NFL CMO Dr. Alan Stills said that the positivity rate this season was 0.08% and zero positives in today's games that we know of. But of course, as many of you might have seen earlier this week, Adam Schefter reported that there was a barber shop fiasco in terms of that the barber was positive for COVID. Imagine this. And then 20 Chiefs players and staff members were in there waiting a haircut, including Patrick Mahomes. And one player was actually mid-haircut before they had to pull out the barber because he had COVID. And
It's so funny. I can just imagine half. And he tweeted out a picture afterwards of just his picture that they use on Sunday Night Football, and just half of his head is completely shaved and the other half has the haircut. And literally that's what it had to have looked like. He probably should have taken a real picture afterwards and posted it. That's so funny.
Well, the best thing for me is just picturing this barber just being taken by the back of the neck, with the shirt, just get out of here. They have to rush him out. They're just pushing him out. It's the guy's sitting in the chair, what happened? What happened? Well, barber had COVID, but again, as many scares as we had, we're here today, and I can't believe it.
It's insane, quite honestly. We might not get here with the NBA in a few months. It's not looking good. Mm-hmm. The NFL did make it. It wasn't pretty at times. There was Wednesday Night Football. There was Tuesday Night Football. Yeah. They had to do it, but that's the times that we're living in. Hopefully we're going to be out of them soon, but I guess the NFL did a good job to get here. There were still cases, but they can't help that. How are they going to stop that? We made it, didn't we?
Yeah. I think the concept kind of relates back to the fact that, and I had a professor explain this to me a few weeks ago, before we ended up coming back to school, there are, I think the number, I don't know exactly, but it's somewhere in the realms of there are 100 times more people who have COVID now than back in March when we initially got sent home from school and the school said, no, you can't be here right now, we're not prepared for this. Whatever, and I think that's the broad scope of things as well. Back in March or back in April when sports started getting canceled and things started, falling to the wayside because of COVID, the numbers weren't anywhere close to what they are now. So I think that this speaks to, organizations' ability to kind of manage what goes on. Obviously we mentioned the NFL's COVID rate was 0.08% or something like that, and they didn't have anyone who had very long-lasting effects, or that they know of long-lasting effects so far, which is obviously a good thing, and you kind of expect that from guys who are, in the prime of their athletic ability and their bodies are just ridiculous. But yeah, I think it speaks to that, and I think that it's. I'm glad that we've gotten to this point where we're comfortable having something that unites the country at one point in a time where people don't really come together quite often. Everyone watches the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've expected, we're going to see if it's going to be a viewership raise because it was exactly 99.9 million last year. And you would think because more people are in their household that the number would go up this year. There would be less Super Bowl parties. You would think, you would hope. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I would expect a viewership rise and somewhere in the early 100s, maybe 102, 103 million. And another reason for that is because we have an absolutely amazing Super Bowl quarterback matchup specifically. It's Brady. It's Mahomes. It's what everyone wants to see. Have we seen this before? Yes, in the AFC Championship 2 seasons ago. But this one feels like it has more of a build-up. You have Brady, 43. You have Mahomes, 25. And I think a lot of people are billing this as the NFL's future versus the NFL's present. For me, it's Mahomes is the present. This is NFL's present versus NFL's past. But the fact that Brady is still, getting a team in his first season there to a Super Bowl, a team that went 8-8 last year, and I know added some pieces, but still wasn't a playoff team last year, to bring them to the big game this year just speaks to his greatness. And again, he's 43 years old, and we know he's undefeated so far against Father Time and this and that, but he is not the best quarterback in the NFL. Some would argue he's not top 5. Others would argue he's not top 10. But somehow, some way, Brady got here. But my main question to both of you, maybe in our lifetime, it is the best quarterback matchup. That's, maybe you may have different thoughts. A lot of people are saying this is going to be the best, at least on paper, at least before the game, at least the build-up. This is the best quarterback matchup in Super Bowl history. I don't know if I agree with that. I want to get your guys' thoughts because it's something that's been talked about on Radio Row and in different TV shows all week long. And I don't know if I agree with it.
Yeah, I think right now, I'm not sure if it's the greatest matchup in NFL, his quarterback matchup in Super Bowl history, just because, Mahomes is still very early in his career. Yes, he's won an MVP. Yes, he's won a Super Bowl. But obviously those things, you can accumulate more of those as you go on in your career. But I do think when we look back on it in 25 years, as you have to do with everything, this will be a matchup between two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think Tom Brady is looked at as the GOAT just because of the amount of rings that he's won and his ability to take teams to championships. Regardless of how effective their offense or defense can be, I think Mahomes is going to be looked at like in the same manner as his career continues to progress, where he's a guy that is going to be able to lead teams, and obviously we know he's going to be with the Chiefs for a long time. So I'm kind of predicting a Chiefs dynasty, but what are you going to do? And he's a guy that is going to lead the Chiefs to AFC championships, to Super Bowls for years and years and years. So I think when you look back on it, I think that this is going to be a matchup between two quarterbacks who are in the conversation for not just the greatest quarterback of all time, but the greatest football player of all time.
I think if you're a Bills fan, this is the most annoying quarterback matchup of all time.
Yeah.
I at first when I saw this story and idea, I was like, it's not. And I was like, no. And then I started looking through them, and I was like, you know what? I don't think it's that crazy to say. I don't think it's insane to say that this could be one of the greatest quarterback matchups of all time, even now. We can get into specifics later, but Montana and Marino played each other, John Elway and Brett Favre, Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach. These are all Super Bowl matchups that have happened, and they were fantastic. But we've never seen really who I equate to the LeBron of football and Tom Brady playing the future LeBron of football and Patrick Mahomes. So it's really kind of wild that they met, and there's such a giant age gap. And like you said, in 25 years, I think it would be true. And I think, honestly, it's not that insane to say it today either.
Yeah, I looked through. Sorry to drop, but I looked at it. Of course, we step on each other,
not
over Zoom, but in this. But literally, if you look at the matchups of past years, and there's so many great quarterback matchups you look through, and I won't even include Eli Brady, even though those played great. Build up, Eli's not in that class, unfortunately. But you had, as you mentioned, Staubach versus Bradshaw twice. You had Super Bowl III, Unitas versus Joe Namath, which was a great quarterback matchup. Dan Marino and Montana played each other in a Super Bowl as well. It was the only one Dan Marino got to. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he's not in that upper echelon because he never won that big game, and Montana was the guy. Exactly, Montana was the guy to knock him down. You had Peyton versus Breeze. Peyton was 33, Breeze was 31. Rodgers versus Big Ben. I think it's one that's overlooked. I know you like it. Rodgers is 27, Big Ben's 28. Both of them are in their prime at that time, playing each other. I think it's one that we look back on and we don't really value. Like, we like watching the Kurt Warner-Roethlisberger one because it was a better game. But that one was a very competitive game, and they were both in their prime. I think it's very overlooked. And then you go down to more recent times, and I think the only or the best Brady versus whoever in terms of quarterback matchup was Wilson. I would love to include Eli. Foles doesn't belong there. He just doesn't. I'm sorry. Jake Delhomme does not belong there, of other quarterbacks that he played. So I think Brady versus Wilson was the best one. And at that time, and it shows Brady's everlasting power, at that time, Brady versus Wilson, it was billed as the NFL's future versus the NFL's present. And, now we're getting that. And what is that, 5 years ago?
Yeah,
and it's the same
future,
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that possible? Because it was built the same exact way. People weren't maybe calling it the best quarterback matchup of all time because they knew that Seattle won their games defensively. But we've seen since then that Russell Wilson's a top 5 quarterback. But all those matchups, and I agree with Dan in terms of what we're thinking with this, in terms of build-up, we don't know how it's going to play out. It might be a blowout today, but in terms of build-up, this feels, and it might be recency bias, but it feels like the best quarterback matchup in Super Bowl history. It just does. Now, best on field, look, Mahomes has to play to Eli level today if he wants to beat Brady. He has to do that. But in terms of build-up, in terms of how it looks on paper, the tail of the tape, however you evaluate this, it's the best one.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Chiefs didn't sign Eli Manning to like a one-day contract
course,
today, just to have him on the roster. When Brady's looking through the roster, he's like, we got Mahomes, a starter, Chad Henne's the backup. Is that the Grim Reaper? Is that the Grim Reaper?
Yeah.
That's Eli Manning. It's third string quarterback. Yeah, I'm surprised they just scare him a little bit.
Yeah. Anything else to add on this in terms of if you think it's the best matchup? Dan, you're sold on it?
Yeah, you think it will be?
Yeah, I think it will eventually will be. I don't know about right now.
Yeah, I listen. I know it sounds a little crazy, but to say it today, I don't think is nuts. I think you can say it, but I think time will obviously we'll see how the game goes. We'll talk about this next week for sure.
And I think though, if you're looking at this, I guess in a negative lens, Brady's not in his prime. He's 43 years old, but as many know, this is not a 40-year-old Favre or a 40-year-old Montana in terms of play quality. Brady is better than both of those guys at the 40 years old, and he's even older. I think Montana played till 39-40, and Favre played till 41. Tom Brady's 43 right now, and win or loss, it's expected that he will come back for next season, and there's no reason he shouldn't. So, very interesting. And now we'll look at the key matchups besides Brady versus Mahomes. And by the way, if you can tell, my voice is gone, so, if I just die out, luckily these two are here, and there won't be Zoom technical difficulties. But Brady versus Mahomes is one aspect to look at this. But the keys to the matchup for me, and again, this is going back to the Giants, and I just looked at the teams that have beaten Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 42, 46, and 53. You had the Giants, and the Eagles. What was the formula to beat Tom Brady in all three of those Super Bowls? Getting pressure to Tom Brady, making him feel uncomfortable. You look at the stats on all those Super Bowls. In Super Bowl 42, the Giants defense got 5 sacks. In 46, they got 2 sacks, but 8 quarterback hits on Brady to knock him down 8 times. And then in 52, I believe, not 53, Eagles versus the Patriots, it was only 1 sack. And, of course, that fumble that clinched the game for the Philadelphia Eagles against the New England Patriots. But it was 9 quarterback hits on Brady. And that's the formula today. In terms of defensive line, does Tampa Bay have an advantage over Kansas City in terms of depth, in terms of star power? Yes, I would argue that Jason Pierre-Paul is the best pass rusher in this game. But the Chiefs do have enough along that defensive line to get to Brady. And that's going to be the key. You have defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, who was the Giants coordinator in 2008 when they won the Super Bowl against Brady. If there's anyone you want as a defensive coordinator to beat Tom Brady, it's Steve Spagnuolo. He is the guy. He knows how to give Brady different looks. Now, is Brady adjusted and is 12 years ago definitely a different Brady than the one we're getting today? Absolutely. But Brady getting pressured is still the winning formula to beat him through all of these years. It's not like typical older quarterbacks where it's like, hey, let Brady throw the ball. Let Drew Brees throw the ball. Let Peyton Manning throw the ball when they were in their older years. No, do not let Brady throw if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You want to get him on the ground and you want to display constant pressure and constant different looks. It's tough to outsmart Brady. So the one thing you have to do is show different looks at the line to get pressure to him, and maybe not even so much that it's pressure that we see on the field, but expected pressure where he doesn't want to take hits. As tough as Tom Brady is, he doesn't want to be put on the ground much in this game. And I'm not saying, there's a scare tactic or anything, but he knows there's only so many hits left in his career. And he's been the most fortunate of any NFL player where he's taken a lot of licks and he still continues to play. but there's an expiration date, and he's, again, like I said, he's not a Tom Brady of yesteryear, of a couple of years ago. So he knows he can't afford to take 9 quarterback hits in the Super Bowl if, 1, he wants to win, and 2, he wants to play effectively through all 4 quarters. So if you're Brady, or if you're trying to beat Brady, that's the formula. Now you look at Mahomes. There's really no getting to him. He's elite. He gets outside of the pocket. So for me, it's showing different defensive looks in the secondary. Mahomes loves to, throw the ball down the field in case he has a lot of weapons. But if Tampa's showing him something that looks easy, like a Tyreek Hill pass to the sideline, but the Buccaneers defense, which allowed a lot of yards, I believe it was 472 to Mahomes last year, if you give him that look, but throw in a different disguise, or pretty much, fake him out in a way, that's the way to beat Mahomes. You're not going to contain him. Everyone's saying in articles that, you're going to contain Mahomes. There's no containing Mahomes. He's going to throw for 300 passing yards, even if the Chiefs don't score a touchdown. Honestly, there is no stopping this guy. He's just too good right now. But you're not trying to stop him. You're trying to win the game. And how you do that is, 1, time of possession. Got to keep Kansas City off the field and Tampa Bay with the ball. And 2, showing him different looks in the secondary. Again, getting pressure to him could only do so much because he has that escapability. You have to, as a secondary, play very good. And unfortunately for Tampa Bay, I think the weakest part of their defense is their secondary, if you look at it through their first 11, their starters. But those are the guys that are going to have to play especially well today, and those are my keys of the game. Maybe you guys are thinking different. I know it's pretty basic. Defense wins championships, and stop the quarterbacks. But really, there is no other formula for both of these teams if they want to win.
Well, Kansas City's offense is so high-powered. I don't know that can be stopped. So I was just looking at, who could potentially be guarding Travis Kelce today. I see Sean Murphy Bunting and Levante David. Those are 2 players that I'm obviously very familiar with. They will maybe charge the task of stopping Travis Kelce, which is something that I don't know that can happen. Like you said, I don't know that Mahomes is someone who can be stopped. So I really think if the Bucs are going to win this game, they have to stop Kelce, and they have to try and keep the Chiefs off the field, quite honestly, because they score so quick and so often. I honestly don't know if that's going to happen, which we'll get to later. But for the Bucs, you got to play great defense. You really, really have to, because I just don't see how it's going to stop a team that averaged 303 passing yards during the regular season. They averaged 29.6 points a game, 112 rushing yards, 415 yards a game was their average. That's pretty insane. So I guess we'll see how they try and do that.
Yeah, I agree with John in the idea that it's going to come down to the offensive line, but I think the more important offensive line is the Chiefs' offensive line. Because last week, I talked about it before the game. I said it was going to come down to whose offensive line plays better, whether it was going to be the Packers or the Chiefs. The Packers gave up 5 sacks against the Bucks, or against the Buccaneers. I'm going to say Buccaneers. Sure. The Packers gave up 5 sacks against the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers' offensive line gave up 1. I think if Jason Pierre-Paul and I absolutely forgot who's the other guy who had sacks. Shaquille Barrett. If those guys can get into the backfield and cause pressure, I think that is very important. And then we look at the Chiefs' offensive line. They are without 3 starting offensive linemen. If some of these guys have been out for a few weeks, and we expect them to be out for this game, but Eric Fisher is a guy that we talk about every year consistently when it goes when we get to Pro Bowl votes, when we get to All-Pro votes. He's a very, very good tackle, and he's not going to be playing this game, along with Andrew Wiley, who's one of their guards, and then Mike Remmers, who's been out for the majority of the season. But at the same time, obviously, when you have a backup in, then, things change. And I think that the Buccaneers' defensive line last week or 2 weeks ago showed that they are going to be able to compete with any offensive line that they face. Yes, the Packers didn't have their all-pro and David Bakhtiari, but at the same time, they had the number 1 offensive line in the NFL as a unit. So I think that it's going to come down to the defensive line of the Buccaneers against the offensive line of the Chiefs, and whoever wins that matchup is going to win the game, because we saw it when the Bucs faced the Packers.
Yeah, and believe me, if anyone knows how how good the Buccaneers defense is, and how a team that, no offense, Brennan, Packers were the favorites in that game, and I thought should have won, and there was multiple opportunities in that game. You can't You can't force Brady to throw 3 interceptions and then lose the game, but the Packers found a way to do that.
Thanks. I appreciate that. We talked about it last week. All right.
The other thing, maybe I'll take a shot at your Bills too. A different aspect of looking at this game also is stopping Travis Kelce. I know Tampa Bay, as you mentioned, had Levante David. Kelce absolutely killed the Bills' linebacking core, and that was the weakest part of their defense. Tampa Bay has a better linebacking core, but again, Kelce may be the top priority. I know everyone looks at Tyreek Hill. I know everyone looks at the different running backs that they have. But Travis Kelce is a machine. He's a receptions guy. He might not be someone who gets a lot of touchdowns in this game, but he might put up 9, 10, 11 receptions, convert on a key third down. He's definitely a guy to look out for if you're Tampa Bay. And it goes back to what Brennan was saying, too, getting pressure and the offensive line playing important as well. Kelce's a part of that. He's a tight end who's in blocking schemes from time to time as well, primarily a receiving tight end, but he needs to block and play well as well if Kansas City wants to win. Any last thoughts before we go into our prop bets, which I think is going to be the best segment of today, but any in-game strategy thoughts from you guys?
Well, if the Bucs want to try and find a defensive lineman who can move like a safety, maybe you can guard Travis Kelce, is kind of what I'm thinking. When we saw when they played the Bills, I mean, Trey White is a fantastic safety. Couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, Travis Kelce is so much bigger than him.
Right.
He really couldn't get around him. And not just Trey. There's no safety in the league can really do that. I really remembered that matchup, of course, because I had to watch that game. I mean, I really do think if Kelce can be contained, then a door opens up for the Bucs where they can do some stuff.
Absolutely. All right, before we go into our prop bets, a tweet just released by us. It's a Super Bowl poll. We want your thoughts. If you're watching right now, you could easily comment in the YouTube comment section as well, but I think going to our Twitter is better, and we want to see a poll of who you think is going to win, and you can reply with a reason below as well. But now we'll go to our prop bets, and I think I picked some good ones. Everyone pretty much contributed to this. There was probably one, I won't tell which one, but one I probably wouldn't have put on, but it's on there because we want to give everyone the best overall look at some of these prop bets, and we'll do in the last 10 minutes our game picks, and we'll do that with the spread just because it's the Super Bowl. Again, not telling you to go out there and use our picks. We're like everyone else. We have no clue what's going on.
Not
so yes, of course, yeah, no. It's honestly, advice is what Dan would say. Yeah, put it in the stock market unless it's Dogecoin. Don't put it there. Anyway, in terms of prop bets, we will get
time out.
Yes.
Dogecoin, Dogecoin,
yeah.
Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
Dogecoin is the cryptocurrency that will soon be started by Doja Cat.
Okay. First off, too, I thought originally it was Doggy Coin. So
it should be.
Yeah, but yeah. So I still don't know how to say it. But I don't have a lot of money in it anyway. But now we'll go to our prop bet segment, and we did this last year too. And I think there's a lot of interesting ones to look at. First, we'll start with what we mentioned earlier, what I did in terms of Mahomes, and that's his passing yards. This number fluctuates depending on the site. 330, it could be 332, 335. For me, no matter what it is, you want the over. The over is minus 120, while the under is minus 110. So the odds aren't great in terms of winning a lot of money, but it's one you look at, and is Mahomes really not going to throw for 330 yards against the Tampa Bay defense? Remind you, he threw for, I want to get the exact number here, 462 yards against the Buccaneers in their first matchup. And I understand that was a regular season game. But Kansas City in that game only put up 27 points in what was a 3-point victory. So, in my opinion, I think Mahomes, even if it's just barely 340 and barely gets over, it's still the over. And, Dan, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, so far this postseason, he's been averaging 320 passing yards a game. That's only been 2 games. But I don't think that it's wild to say that he throws for over 330 yards. He's done that so many times this year. I think that 330 for any other quarterback is a gigantic number. But for Patrick Mahomes, I really don't think it's wild to say that. And if I were to tell someone to bet something, I would tell them to take the over on that.
Of course, yeah. Of course, you're not doing that, though. Right? This is obviously. I actually agree. I think Mahomes is going to get over the 330 yard threshold, and I think it has a lot to do with the weapons he has on the outside. I mean, Tyreek Hill is a guy that can just absolutely toast anyone he goes up against, and I think Travis Kelce's over-under is 110 or 120, something like that. So they expect him to be able to pick up over 100 receiving yards, and for that to be the baseline, 100-plus yards for a tight end receiving is absolutely insanity. So yeah, I think he gets to 330 pretty easily. I don't think this is the Super Bowl that we saw, the last Tom Brady Super Bowl that we saw where they played the Rams and it was 10-7 or whatever the hell, 13-7 or whatever. And it's not going to be a game like that. I think this is a game where we're going to see weapons unleash on the offensive side of the ball for the Chiefs and for the Buccaneers as well, because they've got burners on the outside too. Mike Evans, Godwin is another guy you can give the ball to and just let him run. And of course, as our friend Joe Buck says, playoff money. You just get him the ball and he can go too.
Our friend Joe Buck?
I wish.
Which too. Joe Buck, be our friend.
Yeah.
Overs across the board in terms of Mahomes passing yards. Now another interesting one is still looking at the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks to throw the first touchdown pass. Mahomes minus 135, Brady plus 105. So the first QB to throw a touchdown pass. Again, if it's Mahomes rushing, it does not count to throw. I'm thinking Brady here. I think just, again, it's odds and who gets the ball first. I don't know. I think Tampa Bay wins the coin toss, march down, and Brady shows his Kansas City team, yeah, I might be 43, but I'm for real. And Brady's the first one to score, and the Buccaneers are the first one to score as well. I'm sure that's a different prop bet. Is it all hunch? Of course. It really is who gets the ball first and who makes the first big play. I think it's going to come on the Tampa Bay side. Brennan, you disagree?
I do. I think it's going to be Mahomes who goes for a touchdown pass. I don't think it'll be a long pass. I think the Chiefs are going on a long drive. Regardless of whether or not they win the coin toss and get the ball first, I think that the Chiefs are going to score first. And I think it's going to be a short little bump screen, trying to get to a running back and let the running back get in the end zone. I don't think it's going to be a bomb to start off the game. I think the teams are going to, use those first 30 plays they have scripted out. Obviously, you don't really throw the deep ball on those first few plays regardless, so I think that they're going to drive down the field. I think they're going to short pass. I think Mahomes is the one to do it.
Well, I did say he'd throw for under 330 yards, right? So one of them's probably going to be a touchdown. I think it's likely that, they get on the board early, and I don't think it's insane to say. But again, this is all completely guessing which quarterback is going to throw the first
100%.
touchdown. So I said Mahomes, but if it's Brady, sorry, I don't know. There's really no way to predict this. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yep, and that pretty much concludes what our in-game bets are going to be. Well, actually, besides one, this one really doesn't have a comparison in terms of the odds. It's just a very interesting one I saw yesterday. It's on the website Bovada. And either team to score a 1-point safety, which has never happened in NFL history, the odds are plus 100,000. I find this funny. If you put a dollar bet, you win $1,000. And just to give you guys what a 1-point safety would be, it would be a team going for two, and that quarterback to be sacked in the end zone on the other side of the field. I don't know how that would happen. Maybe if Josh Allen just kept rolling back. No offense. Wow, sorry. Don't worry, I'll roast myself at the end of this. But I don't. That has never happened in NFL history. The fact that it's a bet just made me laugh. I know you guys are. Well, Brennan is yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Man?
but and you know what?
Again, not betting advice.
Of course, you
don't.
If you have $1 to burn, why not? Honestly, you're going to lose that $1. You could either lose getting an Arizona iced tea or putting this down and the expected growth of $1,000.
Yes, this is arguably healthier for you.
Yeah, honestly.
It is.
Honestly.
I think, to be honest with you, if you're putting money on today's game, that's a no-brainer. Put the one George Washington down on this 1-point safety, people. It's never happened before, and it would be insane. But it's unlikely to say the least.
Yeah.
I just love these little prop bets that don't mean anything, but they throw them in there because why not? And that's never going to happen. Obviously, it's never going to happen. 1 to win 1,000. Those odds come very, very rarely. But I just love the little ones. And they're we don't care about this for any other game other than the Super Bowl. And we'll talk about 1-point safeties. We'll maybe talk about it on a Sunday radio show.
Of course. And now away from the game, because this is where the fun begins.
Absolutely.
This is where the fun begins. The odds on this are found on Sporting News. Again, we're going to give you those sites, but those are promotions. That's just where we found the site. So if you're like, that doesn't exist, well, it exists on this site. So this is odds from sportingnews.com. How long will the national anthem by Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan be? It's a duet, so theory would tell you the over. But the last 3 Super Bowl anthems all hit the under. Unfortunately for Vegas, there was a video leaked. Someone was listening to the rehearsal outside of Raymond James Stadium and timed it on their phone and then posted it on the internet. And 159 is what we got on our odds. That came out to about 216.
Yeah.
So that's massively over. Also, it's a duet, meaning 2 people have to come in. Is it a split second in which they, both combine on it? Sure. But it's 2 singers with 2 different cadences singing the national anthem, not just one. And it's amazing how these singers do it, but these rehearsals, I'm not going to say it's going to hit 216 exactly, but they're off by a second or 2. It's not going to be a 17-second difference between the rehearsal and the actual performance. I know this is very insight, but this is what we're trying to give you in this show. I have the over, and Brendan, what do you got? Oh, I'm looking at Dan. Brendan,
Nice.
what do you got for the Super Bowl anthem?
Put it on the screen in real life.
Yes, I know this is. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. I know Dan is a big music guy, so this is the bet he's looking into. But Brennan, over under 159.
Yeah, over, absolutely. With 216 on the rehearsal run, they try and do that as realistically as possible in the rehearsal because they have to time out so much other than just the national anthem that goes on before and goes on after that. So they have to know the exact amount of time that they have. So 216, I think, is a very, very good number. And with being under 2 minutes, that blows it out of the water as far as being over. So I'm sticking with the over because I think that they have to stick with the consistency.
So originally I put under because I just wanted to be different. But I didn't have insider info.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Now that I know that there's a guy who timed it and it's on Twitter and you can find it, you have to go with the over here, people. I also didn't know who these people were. Eric Church is a country singer, from what I understand. Okay, so I can see him, maybe drawing out a little bit more. Yeah, I think
making it all about himself.
I don't know. With that new insight, I think we have to say the over.
So there you go. Overs across the board for the national anthem. Now another musical performance, and it's The Weeknd on a Sunday doing the halftime show. Not the biggest Weeknd fan, but there's odds on which song he will begin his show with. There may be a set list online somewhere. I don't know about it, but there are odds on which he will sing first. In Your Eyes is the favorite at plus 400. Blinding Lights is plus 400 as well. Pray For Me is plus 450. And Starboy is plus 475. The only song I know is Blinding Lights, and I think unless you're a Weeknd fan, the general American public only knows Blinding Lights because it's been on commercials for football the last couple weeks, and it's been overplayed on the radio like any top song in 2021. So I think he begins his performance like that. I also think he ends it like that too. Might as well. Not saying he's a one-hit wonder. I know he's got a whole catalog, and maybe people could comment, oh, he's this, he's that, he's Spotify, he's top 10 in terms of downloads or plays. To me, he's known for one song in terms of a lot of people knowing him. He's known by a lot of people. I'm not negating that fact. But you want to begin the show with something people have heard of. Other artists who have a lot of hits don't do that. They don't go with their most recognized song first. Sometimes they go with the song they're trying to promote, their latest song. But I think Blinding Lights will be the first song that The Weeknd plays. And Dan, you disagree?
So I don't know a lot about The Weeknd. My favorite song of The Weeknd has always been The Hills. That's always been my favorite one. But I don't know a lot of songs by. Is his name The Weeknd? Maybe that's his full name. The Weeknd. That's his last name.
On his birth certificate.
Legally,
yeah. That's his last name's Weeknd. But I don't know. Blinding Lights just seems like the end it, bring the house down to me. But maybe he opens with it. I'm not saying that that's out of the realm of possibilities. So I put not Blinding Lights. But when you said that he starts and ends with it, it made me think of my dad's been to a lot of concerts. He's been to one where that happened, and it was Europe began their show with the final countdown and ended with the final countdown. So
what the people want.
Exactly. So hey, who knows? But I don't know. For myself, I think that they're just gonna bring the house down with it. But if they open with it, I mean, like you said, everyone knows that song. They can't be shocked.
Mm-hmm. Another band that should open and close with the same song is All Star, and it's Smash Mouth playing All Star.
I didn't even notice that.
Absolutely.
You just said background. I would have said anything.
Absolutely. What are we talking about again? Oh, right, The Weeknd. Yeah. Honestly, I'm with you guys. I don't know a lot of the songs, and I think that Blinding Lights has been the song that's kind of been pounded into our heads for the last X amount of time, because any time that they play a commercial promoting the weekend, playing the Super Bowl halftime show, it's always Blinding Lights. The song that's playing over the top, and that's obviously his most recognizable song. But at this point, I think that we know that it's the weekend that's playing the Super Bowl. I think we have, it's pretty well known, so I don't think he has to go with his most popular song. So while I did say that Blinding Lights will be the first song, I disagree with myself in that I think that will come later. He definitely will play it at some point, but I don't think it'll be the first song that he plays, because oversaturation.
Yeah, well, disagree with me. It's the only way to kick it off. You got to bring people in. The most important thing, if anyone knows, in a fight card or in a song list, you got to hit them with a great beginning, and the ending's got to be great too. Might as well do the song everyone knows. This is a fun one. What will be said first by color commentator Tony Romo alongside Jim Nantz, the game on CBS, of course. Read is plus 100. Penetration is plus 200. Blitz is plus 225. A-gap is plus 300. And trick play is plus 750. I hope that it's just, Jim, Jim, because that's all he says. The odds on that, Jim, are not available on any site. And those odds, of course, by Sporting News as well, found on the same webpage. We all disagree on what we think is going to be said first. I think it's blitz, first play of the game. And as I said earlier, it's going to be Tampa Bay with the ball and Brady. Steve Spagnuolo is going to throw a blitz at him. And Romo's going to be like, Jim, you see that blitz, Jim? Jim. And that's what's going to happen. So I think blitz is going to be the first word out of Tony Romo's mouth. Dan, you think different?
I put down read, but to be honest with you, whenever Tony Romo gives a commentary, I think the words he just says in any random order, read, penetration, blitz, A-gap, trick play.
Yeah.
And then Jim Nantz is like, yeah, right? And that's just kind of how it goes. But Romo does do a great job of predicting the plays. Everyone's seen that where he knows what's going to happen. It's like he's a quarterback or something. So I put read just because I feel like he's going to say, that was great, read. But again, we'll see what happens in the game.
Yeah, and I actually went with A-gap in this one. I know it's a little bit of a wild card, but I agree. I do think that they blitz on the first play, but I don't think he's going to actually say the word blitz. I think he's going to talk about the alignment of the defense, and I think that the defense, whoever it is going to line up in the A-gap and blitz the A-gap, bring pressure up the middle, and I think that's what's going to be first. But low-key, I could see trick play being the first play. I think if the Chiefs get the ball to start it off, this is plus 750. Chiefs get the ball to start it off, they might run a trick play in the first play of the game. You never know with Andy Reid. And try and go deep and maybe like a double reverse where Tyreek Hill ends up throwing the ball to Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the field or something like that. I think a trick play could be the first play of the game. And if that's so, the plus 750 hits with trick play.
And by the way, if you were Tony Romo, wouldn't you start off the show with Jim Nantz good evening, welcome here, Tony, how are you? I'd be like, trick play. Just start the entire broadcast. I'd definitely say that.
Well, you mentioned Buck earlier, and he's our good friend, of course. Of course. But Buck went on Rich Eisen's show a couple years ago when he was calling a Super Bowl, and Rich Eisen just gave him prop bets, and Buck's like, I'm going to say that, I'm not going to say that. It might have been illegal tampering, but it's hilarious. And you don't think that Romo probably put some money down on this? I'm not going to cast aspersions on the man, but I would. Are you kidding me? All right, I'm in control of this bet. It's like saying, am I going to get up at 9 a.m.? Well, if I set my alarm, I'm going to get up at 9 a.m., and that's stone cold cash.
Money on it,
yeah,
right?
I mean, you might as well. So we all disagree what he's going to be said first, but believe me, he'll talk more than Nantz a lot. Anyway, still like him, though. It's a change of pace. Now we'll go to the commercial aspect of Super Bowl 55. This is how many commercials will have a dog in them. We know Budweiser is not having their traditional campaign, and they usually have a dog or the horse, and they like to play the animal card because Americans love that. But the over/under for this is 4.5. So if there's a half a dog, there's a push right there. But so in terms of the odds, over 4.5 is
front half or the back half.
That's up to your interpretation. Over is minus 250, and under is plus 170. I'm guessing over. You can't overdo dogs. People love dogs. It is something that will gravitate people towards the screen. Oh, the dog's shilling for Cheetos. Oh, the dog's shilling for this company. People love that. People are going to watch. Companies know this. And as Brennan mentioned earlier, in a time where we're so divisive, dogs are almost unanimously liked by all people. And I think that's why it's over. Brennan over underdogs.
Why are dogs almost unanimously like?
Some people,
Who would those people be, John?
I don't know. Not me, of course, but certain people.
I didn't know we lied on the show.
Oh, sorry.
I thought we only told the truth.
I have an image, all right? We're peeping at viewers right now, and I have an image to uphold.
Fair. Okay.
Yes.
Dogs in the Super Bowl. Less than 4.5. I think it's going to be less.
Yes.
I do think it's going to be less. I agree. I do think the dogs are the global. Sorry, Dan. I just took a feed at your screen. I do think the dogs are the global unifier, but at the same time, I don't think that. I think there's going to be a lot more companies that go with the things are different than they were last year at the Super Bowl route than the try and use animals to their advantage. So I think that it's going to be under 4.5 dogs. Wow. I'm still looking for that push though. I really want there to be half a dog, whether it be front, back, or maybe just down the middle.
I know. Well, I love that too when you have half. Like obviously it's 4 or 5, but it's funny to joke that if it's a push,
I mean, I don't know. I'd love to see this dog on screen. If Dog the Bounty Hunter does make an appearance, that would be really interesting. Then it would be it'd be a no for me, dog, if that happened. But I think that
maybe we see in the halftime show Snoop Dogg.
Wow,
that'd be great.
That's with 2 G's though.
Yeah,
Still a dog.
Okay.
Maybe. I got the over because I want to see more than 4 dogs or 4.5 dogs. That's my hope, and even if Dog the Bounty Hunter is one of them, I'll take it. So go me over.
Believe me, my voice is shot, so people already don't like me. I like dogs, just to clarify. We'll go now into, I don't need more people to hate me. We'll go into our MVP of the week. Interesting segment. This is really when we could diverge from football and not talk about it. We could talk about anything, entertainment, pop culture, and of course sports. It's just someone or something that had a great week in our eyes. I'll go first. I'm going to get this out of the way. I had to stay in a hotel before I moved into my apartment. I stayed at the Meadow Court Inn in Ithaca, New York. My expectations were low. Not because of anything in terms of the hotels. I didn't know what it was, but I'm like, we'll see. When I first drove up there, I'm like, oh boy. I had a great time there. It was a beautiful TV, high definition, and that's all I need. The Wi-Fi was perfect, and the bed was comfortable enough. And for that, Meadow Court Inn is my MVP of the week. Thank you for letting me stay there for a day there, and I had a great time. So they're my MVP of the week. Really can't go anywhere else. Brennan, MVP of the week.
Yeah, my MVP of the week is the MVP of the NFL.
Oh, jeez.
Of course, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Obviously. Is he playing today? No. Did they vote before the playoffs? Yes. That's the only reason he won the MVP. Little side MVP here to Josh Allen, who actually finished second in MVP voting. Oddly enough, he got 4 votes. I think Mahomes only got 2. Rodgers, of course, was pretty unanimous. Those are the only votes that went anywhere else. He had 30, 38, something like that. I don't know how many people exactly vote. But yeah, my MVP is the MVP, Aaron Rodgers. He will play with the Packers next year. I'm manifesting that right now. He will play with the Green Bay Packers next year. After that, who knows, really? It's all going to be so much fun.
Well, by the way, Daniel Jones did not get any MVP votes, if anyone's wondering, but both their quarterbacks did.
Rightfully so.
What are we talking about, the MVP?
Yeah.
Shout out to the people who work in the Ithaca Wegmans. It's so nice. You all do a great job, and there's so many people in there. Wear a mask, people. If you like musical performances and you like SNL, you got to watch Phoebe Bridgers last night. She smashed her guitar on the amp.
Nice.
Yes!
Nice.
That's always awesome when that happens.
Move.
But my MVP, on a little bit of a sunburn, it has to be Leon Spinks. He passed away yesterday at the age of 67. He beat Muhammad Ali in February of 1978 to win the heavyweight championship. Ended up losing again to Ali, but in only 7 professional fights, he was able to be the heavyweight champion of the world. So rest in peace to Leon Spinks, and he will be my MVP this week.
There you go. Before we give the results of the poll, I want one more minute where people watching right now go to @TheMVP Show and vote who you think will win the Super Bowl. And in a minute or so, we're going to give the reaction, because right now it's 50-50, and I don't want that to be the end result, because that just meant that tweet was unnecessary, because that's how everyone's viewing this, is a 50-50. So go right now and vote. And the last thing we have left is our game picks after our poll results. And you've heard what we've said about this game, and I think we have some leanings. Maybe we try not to let them slide until the end, of course. But no matter how you look at this game, it's going to be a great one, in my opinion. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout. I hope not, of course. And we've been gifted, if you go back to the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of blowout Super Bowls. We've been gifted 20 years old, even though, New York doesn't have a lot of championships. A lot or a majority of the Super Bowls that we've watched have been close games. Even when we mentioned Patriots-Rams, at least that was close. Was it boring? Yes. But at least at any time it was a 1-2 possession game. The only blowout that comes to mind is the Seahawks versus the Broncos at MetLife Stadium, 43-8. And some could view the Peyton Manning versus Cam Newton, Carolina-Denver Super Bowl as a blowout because it was a 2-possession game. But it wasn't really, because Carolina had the ball with 5 minutes left, looking to tie the game, and of course couldn't. So in our life, or at least in our recent memory, we've only had really one Super Bowl that was a blowout and not a great game. And hopefully we get that this year. Gonna refresh the poll. Come on, people. I'm betting on you. It's still 50-50. And I'll read it right now, though. Right now, unless you guys maybe refresh it, maybe my phone's off. But right now, it's 50% Kansas City Chiefs, 50% Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the MVP show. Oh, now, okay, there we go. I guess my phone didn't update. We have a winner. 66% of you think that the Kansas City Chiefs will win Super Bowl LV, while Tampa Bay is in at 33%. And that's all we needed. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
I don't know why my phone didn't update. It still says 50-50, but we've gotten the official results now. Thank you to all that are voting and all that are watching as well. I know we had an echo earlier in terms of our audio because we're working with a new set today, but I appreciate everyone watching. Now, though, it is time. Our Super Bowl game picks. What everyone is looking for and looking forward to, really, what we think, of course. And you look at this game, and I just mentioned that it's not going to be a blowout. I don't think that's going to be the case. Can it be a 2-possession game? Sure, but I don't value that as a blowout. We talked earlier about Brady versus Mahomes. That's going to be what this game is decided upon. I know we've mentioned keys to the game, the defenses as well. But if Brady repeats his performance against the Green Bay Packers and throws 3 interceptions, Tampa Bay isn't getting it done. If Mahomes, he really doesn't have any bad games, but puts himself in a vulnerable position to get hurt like he did in the first playoff game, that could spell doom for them as well. It's really which quarterback has the best decision making. We think some people think O-line, Brennan. I think it's going to be majority defense. I know defense wins championships, and that is a key as well, but it's going to come down to Brady versus Mahomes. When you look at this game, I know Brady is the GOAT, undisputed, but Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, even though we talked about Tampa Bay's weapons, has the better offensive display. He's got maybe the best tight end in football, the fastest wide receiver in football in Tyreek Hill, and a bunch of running backs who can make a lot of plays out of the backfield and have only gotten better. In the beginning of the year, there was some pitfalls. Le'Veon Bell wasn't really fitting. Leonard Fournette would drop every pass thrown to him, but playoff Lenny has showed up. The Chiefs' offensive line, I know Brennan mentioned, there might be some holes there. I think they're sturdy enough to at least give Mahomes time to move out of the pocket and make a great play. Also, even though he shouldn't put himself in a vulnerable position, Mahomes is a rushing threat, which Brady isn't. And in a game and in a situation which may come down to the quarterback having to make the play to win the game, I'll pick Mahomes any day of the week at 25 over Tom Brady, who is 43. And because of that, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs will win Super Bowl 55. I have them covering the 3.5 3-point spread, whichever it is. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 point win. And I have the over as well. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. We mentioned it earlier, and I've mentioned it now in terms of the weapons that both teams have. And for that reason, I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs to win Super Bowl 55, a two-peat. And side note, if Brady wins the Super Bowl, I think this is the last game he plays in his NFL career. But if he loses, he's going to want more. And that's, my final thoughts on this. Again, Kansas City. I agree with you guys, the viewers. Kansas City will win Super Bowl 55.
Yeah, I'll go. The Chiefs. I completely agree. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I'll say it right up front. I said it before. I think that the Chiefs' offensive line is going to have to try and contain the Buccaneers' defensive line. That's going to be the most important matchup of the game. But I think that they're going to be able to do that. And I think the Chiefs will win. I think Mahomes is a better quarterback than Brady. I think he gets more done with his legs than Brady obviously can. I mean, they were just playing a few days ago, or pretty much all week, the Brady running the 40-yard dash before the combine. We went like 5.8 or something. I think Mahomes is more of a weapon, and I think that even if the offensive line begins to break down just a little bit, I think that he has the ability to make plays happen when plays need to happen. So I also have the Chiefs. I also have them covering at 3, and I also have the over. So I 100% agree. And I have to stick to my guns because I may or may not have made a bet at the beginning of the week that all of those things were going to happen.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
So the only sports bet I ever made was the Bills in the Super Bowl this year. Didn't age well. But today, I think the Chiefs are going to win. You should take the Chiefs to win, people. I think the over is a smart bet because they score a lot of points. How are you going to stop their offense? That's still going to be, for me anyway, the X factor of the game is if the Bucs can slow them down at all. Because, to be honest, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see how it's done. I don't really think it can be done, to be quite honest with you. I definitely think the Chiefs are going to win, and they're going to put up as many points as they're allowed to touch the football. But I do agree with you guys with that. Another X factor that I was just thinking about in today's game, if they can contain Kelsey, maybe if Tyreek Hill has an off game. As a Bills fan, do I want to see Sammy Watkins have a good game? Do I want to see him have a really good game? I'll have to ask a friend of the program, Jackson Lawrence, is in our living room right now, fellow Bills fan. Are we rooting for Sammy? We are. All right. Okay. So we want to see Sammy Watkins. I'm okay with that. And just too many weapons for Kansas City. I definitely think I agree with you guys that they're going to win the game today.
In terms of the game, I think we got to give our final scores. And I also, because you just brought it up and it just fired off my brain, who we're actually rooting for in this one. Because I think there's a difference, and there is, between who we think will win and who we're actually rooting for. So I think we go with final scores first because I think that's interesting. And since we both think there's going to be, the game's going to have a cover there, I'm picking the Chiefs 38-31. I know it's an interesting score. And 8-1 I'm rooting for a variety of reasons. So that's why I think it will be the final score. So do you have a final score prediction in terms of, obviously we all have the Chiefs across the board, but the score does matter for some people.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs 42.
Wow.
Bucs 35. I think a very high scoring game.
No field goals.
No field goals. I don't think they need field goals. I think they're scoring touchdowns on every drive. So 42-35 Chiefs.
I'm feeling 39,
Oh, geez.
33.
Okay.
Wow.
Taking Kansas City.
What's interesting is, in terms of the score, 2-point conversions are a bigger thing in this Super Bowl than the previous ones. Teams with the analytics now want to run 2-point conversions, and Arians and Andy Reid, especially, both of them, they aren't guys who have been here a lot. Andy Reid won his first Super Bowl last year, and Bruce Arians, as a head coach, has never won one. So they're going to pull out the stops today. And I think there might be a couple 2-point conversions where an odd score like Dan's may come out and happen because, and maybe ours, even though it's a traditional score, may not because of the 2-point conversions. And again, another interesting aspect to look at. Now we'll talk about who we're rooting for because I think you brought it up, it's interesting. I'm so split because I don't hate the Chiefs in terms of if they win, they'll be the beginnings of a dynasty, first consecutive champions since the New England Patriots in 03 and 04. But I don't want to see, I don't know, I don't want to see Mahomes beat Brady because then Eli's legacy's taken a shot, right? Because you got Eli and Nick Foles are the only two quarterbacks to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. That's it.
Take a shot with Nick Foles.
I know, but that's it. And the funny thing is, because you value Mahomes, and all right, I don't know if that makes it better that Mahomes is an elite quarterback and he beat Brady and only elite quarterbacks beat Brady, or it's just like Mahomes was the only actually good one, and that's an interesting. He was the only good one to beat, because I'm sure we'll hear that for years too. No, I want it to be, Eli wasn't the best, but he did beat Brady twice in Super Bowls. So I'm split on this. I don't know how to feel. I don't hate Kansas City. If they win a couple more championships, I will. I know you think differently because you're a Bills fan, and this is the best the Bills have been in a long time. And the one hurdle is the Kansas City Chiefs in their way. I understand that. And the Buccaneers, too, if you're rooting for Brady, they're not going to be a long-lasting, it's over after Brady, unless they bring in another top-notch quarterback. This is just going for the championship now. They don't have a long future ahead of them. Kansas City could be the team that dominates the 2020s, realistically. So I'm split on this. I'm picking the Chiefs.
but maybe in a way I'm rooting for the Bucks, and it really have to be how, like, because Brady's so hateable too.
Yeah.
So you want to see him get his comeuppance, but Eli's the guy that does that for me, and even Nick Foles. I think a lot of people find it hilarious that those are the three that beat Brady in the Super Bowl, and also you look at the quarterbacks that have beaten Brady in a playoff game, names like Mark Sanchez, Jake Plummer. It's sort of hilarious. So, obviously Big Ben and Peyton are there too, but there's so many quarterbacks that, oh my God, they beat Tom Brady in a playoff game. If you look through NFL's history, it sort of amazes you. So I'm split, but again, my pick, Kansas City Chiefs, and may have to get back to you guys on who I'm rooting for. I'm still not sold. I think, Dan, though, you're pretty sold.
Yeah, I mean, I can't root for the guy who was 32-3 with 68 touchdowns and 21 interceptions against the Bills between 2001 and 2019.
32-3?
Yeah, I'm not rooting for that guy. I hope he loses by a bajillion points, even though Patrick Mahomes just beat the Bills. Now, if the Chiefs win again next year, the AFC again next year, I'm going to feel differently. But I feel like Buffalo can still get better, and they can get over the Chiefs. It's a matter of when they will. Obviously, they have some work to do before they're better than the Chiefs, but I think that can happen. But it's really hard to erase 32-3 from anyone's memory. So, I hope. I honestly hope Brady loses by like 70 points today. But I guess I have to go with the Chiefs. Then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs. I had no reason to hate Tom Brady up until 2 weeks ago. And now I do have a very good reason. So
welcome to the club.
I will go with the Chiefs. Also, I'm a Texas Tech football fan for no reason other than I liked playing with the air raid offense in NCAA 14, and I was very successful with it in that video game, that series. That should have been MVP. It really should have. NCAA football is back. It's probably not going to be back for another 2 or 3 years, but it is my favorite video game series of all time, and that was my favorite offense to play with. So I'm a Texas Tech fan. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, from Texas Tech. I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs. I think they're going to score a lot of points today, and that's who I'm rooting for as well. Also, can we just do one more prop bet?
Oh gosh,
yeah. Please.
Throw just
I was going to look for one.
Okay. These are exotic props on Oddshark.com, Dan, the website that you went to last week for the WrestleMania odds.
Yes.
And this is my favorite because we know that the Super Bowl happens on this Sunday every year, but one thing that always happens on the same day is the Puppy Bowl on Animal Planet. And where
I'm just kidding, I love it.
It's you can't do that. We talked about dogs a few times in the show. The odds for the Puppy Bowl are not split evenly. There is a favorite in the Puppy Bowl, and it is Team Rough. They are minus 140 against Team Fluff, who is even. So I'm going to go with Team Rough. I don't know how you calculate who the favorite is, if it goes maybe by breed. I know that it's pre-recorded, so they know who the winner is already. But maybe breed, maybe age of the dogs, maybe athletic breeds get better odds. But I'm going to go with Team Rough over Team Fluff.
Well, they run the ground and pound offense. And
not a lot of throwing.
And in their routes, they really dig into the dirt. And
it just makes me laugh that betting on the Puppy Bowl and
the real thing.
Yeah, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for professional wrestlers, but they know who's going to win beforehand too.
True.
So you can bet on the Puppy Bowl and WWE. It's kind of the same philosophy. I feel like Team Rough is a smart bet.
Yeah.
I'd like to say to people out loud, I put money on Team Fluff, but I don't know if I can say that, and if anyone else should say that. Let's go Team Rough. What the hey? And get that bad boy on the TV before the big game.
Where even is the Puppy Bowl televised?
Animal Planet.
Oh,
Nice.
It is. Where do you think they're not putting dogs on Animal Planet, John?
The only thing I've ever watched related to that was the Cats when they did.
Time show.
Yeah, but it was.
I watch it every year.
There was a baseball one with John Sterling on the call. You have to. I don't know what it's called. It was John Sterling, the radio voice of the Yankees, with Mary Carrillo, who's known for covering the Olympics with NBC, and they did like a cat baseball game, and it was really well done. And I was like the production value, I'm not a big fan of cats either, but it was. I watched it, and I sat down for like an hour, and I watched it. And it was very funny. And the names, they're all play on words with real players, so it was really interesting. And I think that's the perfect note to end on, right? For our Super Bowl, not our Puppy Bowl, Super Bowl 55 preview show. Thank you to all of those who watched and found us and voted on the poll as well on Twitter. We appreciate it. And hopefully soon we'll be back in the studio. This may be our setup for the next week or two, but hopefully we get to be in WICB studio for the next couple of months. But always come back here on Sundays at noon. We're going to talk all things sports. And today, all things Super Bowl. I think we did a great job. For Dan Passante and Brennan Miller, I'm John Vicari. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday, and why not? Take off work tomorrow. You deserve it.